They don't have some number of Goblin Pile Drivers.
Or you can Crusade through it too, right? I mean, it's probably better than other cards he has in his deck.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Taking a look at Jason's Goblin deck list, we do see a turn 1 Cavern of Souls for Goblin Lackey, which is a great start against Joe's deck. He does have the usual suspects of Goblin Lackeys. He has 4 Pile Drivers, 4 Matron, 4 Ringleader, 4 Incinerator, and 4 War Chief. He's got the 3 War Marshals, 1 Prospector. His singletons are Siege Gang Commander, Krenko Mob Boss, Sting Scourger, Goblin Sharpshooter, and Tin Street Hooligan, which implies that he is playing green instead of black, with only 4 Aether Vials and no Warren Weirdings to be found.
I know that Goblin Pile Driver is a card that you're pretty sour on. Do you think it's more of a sideboard card or just doesn't really belong in the deck in general?
I just don't think it's a card that really belongs in the deck in general right now. Joe is camera cursed, apparently. We're getting from our show director because he is on a 5-card mulligan, but he's done a nice job of taking care of Goblin Lackey at least to let this game go on longer.
Yeah, Joe's been getting wailed on camera this weekend. He got caught a beat down in the standard portion from Travis Wu, who then went on to lose 3 consecutive matches afterwards en route to dropping at 1-3. And then Corbett Gray did him pretty dirty on camera earlier today.
Yeah. As we're going to see an Aether Vial here from Jason, and we're going to see the second Aether Vial. So he is getting his card advantage engine online. And we see Joe does have lands. He has a Tundra and a Scalding Tarn. He also has his Sensei's Divining Top. So he can still play some Magic here.
He's got 2 tops. A Force of Will, and he's going to have probably a little bit of time to reassemble a hand.
As far as your question about Goblin Pile Driver, we see Aether Vials ticking up. The reason I'm not a very big fan of it in Goblins right now is that for the popular decks in the Legacy format, Rug Delver, you could say Maverick, and Stoneforge decks, it's just really not very good against those particular decks. It's great, if there's a lot of Merfolk saturated around, but even if there's other aggressive decks, Pile Driver is really not where you want to be.
Yeah.
Goblins is a grindy deck. It's not, it is a deck that can put you away fast with Goblin Lackey, of course, but those draws are relatively few and far between, excuse me.
So Joe's going to get a basic island and spin the top.
As we see a Force of Will, a Counterbalance, and mystery card.
It's either a Terminus or an Entreat, right?
It is an Entreat. So Joe has his back against the wall, and as most people do know in this particular matchup, Counterbalance not great against Goblins.
And certainly once Aether Vial is on the table, then it's worth very little.
Aether Vial has made it much worse, but Cavern has even made it even worse.
Yeah. Although, I think Joe actually kind of has a plan of action now, which is just to get that to get a big Entreat.
Yeah. He can keep floating it over there and then making a treat for, in between 2 to 4, and that's a real thing against Goblins.
Yep.
So we're going to see another Sensei's Divining Top.
And Joe's going to pass the turn without playing his Tundra into Wasteland. It's actually like quite a bit, because he can try to wait for a spot where Jason taps the Wasteland for mana, so at least he can get one use out of his Tundra instead of just like playing it into the jaws of a Wasteland and not really getting any utility out of it.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit too.
A subtle display of mastery by Joe.
He's going to do the best that he can on a mulligan of 5, that's for sure. And Jason is just content to pass back and let his vials do what they do. Keep in mind also that Joe does have 1 Detention Sphere in his deck, so if he were able to find that right now, that would be huge.
Joe with 2 Entreats on top.
And he just passes the turn back, so we are going to see a Mog War Marshal here. A couple copies of this card throughout Jason's main deck.
And this card is exceptional in any sort of creature matchup.
Yeah, unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
How good it is. It looks like it wouldn't be that good at all, but it really is. As we also see Vial for Goblin Pile Driver.
So we're going to lose the War Marshal here.
Interesting thing about Cavernous Souls with War Marshal, you can't actually pay the Echo with Cavernous Souls.
Take a vial up to 3. Or we're going up there with both of them. Yes.
Elevator going up.
And I suspect Joe is not much longer for this world.
We do see that Jason has a Goblin Matron, a Goblin Ringleader. Some things that he can really do to push some damage through now.
Yeah. He still has to be conscientious of Terminus, certainly.
For sure.
Yeah.
As we do just see an attack here for 4. Yeah, something that you just don't want to get ruined by on this mulligan to 5.
Yeah.
You know, this turn he could have, you know, vialed in a Matron and then vialed in a Goblin War Chief. But, you know, if he gets blown up by Terminus, it's pretty ugly. Yeah. As we do see a Goblin Matron get vialed in.
And we're going to find... another pile driver.
He's going to be able to play that through Cavernous Souls, so no counter magic to be scared of. It's just see Goblin Matron on the screen there for you.
And this is where Joe gets rewarded for his patience with that Tundra. Now he's going to be able to use it.
And he does have a Terminus there, so there's also some patience there. Included Delta as well. Joe, a very patient man.
Yes.
In the face of all of these goblins and active Aether Vials.
I think you want to float the Terminus for, like, inside of... you don't want to do it right now. Like,
Yeah,
you want to wait onto Jason's turn. You know, you might be able to do some Ringleaders or just, you know, a War Chief, something along those lines.
I don't see any reason. I like the play of just doing inside of combat. As we see a polluted Delta here from Joe.
So yeah, I assume we're just passing back here. And now it's time to see exactly how disciplined Jason wants to be about playing around Terminus.
As this is...
I assume that we're just going to... I mean, if I'm in Jason's position, I'm happy to just attack as my first action after drawing, because... I mean, we have lethal on board here.
Yeah, this is lethal attack. There's no reason to move in and get your cards removed. I mean, Goblin Ringleader is an unimpressive 2/2, but you'd still rather have it than not have it.
Yeah, I mean, how much are we attacking for on board? It's 5, 10. It's 10, 20, 1, 2, 3. I count 25 on board.
4. No, your count's way too high.
All drivers plus 2/0 for each other. Oh, is it other
2,
attacker?
3, 4. Yes.
It's other attacker, then 21.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 19. Yeah, 18, 19, 20, 21. As we see Rashad and Port tapping something in the main phase.
He might actually be tapping the planes here, which is pretty awesome because it forces Joe to Terminus right now if he's floating on the top of his deck.
Sure.
And now he actually gets to attack with his Ringleader, so that's a Jim Davis worthy play right there. Yeah, yeah, that was impressive.
And so now we will see Goblin Ringleader reveal one more, which is Arid Mesa. So Krenko, Goblin
Couple
Mob
threes,
Boss,
not bad to hit right here.
and a War Chief as well. And you're going to see War Chief get vialed in. And so this will be an attack for 4.
So I assume we're going to be cracking that Delta and getting rid of our redundant top here.
Yeah, looks to be the case.
Go get another basic.
Gonna knock Joe down to
9, I believe.
9 now.
He's still got some hope if he draws his detention spear.
I think he's doing relatively well given the circumstances.
Yeah. Spin the top here in a moment. Another top. Basic Island, and is that Snapcaster Mage?
I believe that is Snapcaster Mage.
Snapcaster Mage is not bad here either. Just gets to plow the War Chief, block the Ringleader.
See, Joe can still take the opportunity to play that. Okay.
Yeah,
so
now,
he's content with that getting blown up by Wasteland.
Right, because he wants to be able to Snapcaster Plow and spin his top.
Sure.
So I assume we're going to top off of this.
No top at all. I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, that seems just like a free activation.
Vial staying at 3 and 4. Those are magic numbers for that card.
All right, he's running the same play again, I believe. We're porting the Plains main phase, so Jason doesn't have to worry about Terminus. Or Joe has to do it right away.
Yeah. He's going to target Source of Plowshare. He's going to target Goblin War Chief. And so now this is going to give Jason the opportunity to activate Aether Vial for 4 to put Krenko into play to make hasty goblins if he wants to.
Yeah, this might have been a misstep on Joe's part. He may have needed to just do this play right away, because allowing him to untap the vials and vial in a Ringleader and then vial in Krenko.
So Krenko's going to have the opportunity to make 3 goblins now. As far as other goblins, the 3-drop that he has in hand, Jason is a Gem Palm Incinerator. As you see War Chief get plowed. Now those goblin tokens won't be able to attack, as you see Krenko Mob Boss on the screen from M13, but Ringleader still can.
Yep.
And an active Krenko is pretty tough for this Miracle deck to beat.
Yeah. I bet Joe cannot wait to cut these counter spells out of his deck.
Yeah. Get these Force of Wills and these counterbalances out of here. So we see an island drawn for Joe.
Counterbalance, Divining Top, and is that another Divining Top?
I think that's what that is.
Jason doing a very good job of playing around Terminus, I feel. He's trying to put enough into play to pressure Joe to induce it, but not so much that if Joe were to have it, that he would be stuck without enough of a follow-up.
Yep. He's doing a nice job of making it so it's not backbreaking.
Like you said, a very grindy matchup.
And so now we're going to see a Goblin Ringleader be put into play. Let's see, War Chief, Matron,
And that should do it.
And War Chief.
Not bad.
Making Magic look easy. War Chief's going to come in. I think we're going to see a Krenko activation, or we can just see an attack, actually.
All right.
And that's it. So Joe tried to fight through a mulligan of 5. He did find a Terminus, but in the end, Goblin, an aggressive deck with a lot more card advantage than it seems, able to take it down.
Yep. Now onto the sideboard, where Joe has a bunch of fancy action. A lot of singletons. He's got a Seal of Cleansing, a Disenchant, a Sphere of Law, another Detention Sphere, a Proffery Nodes, a couple Bane Slayers, an Enlightened Tutor, some Red Blast, another Force of Will, 2 Relics, a Rest in Peace. This is a real nice, the sideboard sampler.
What can't he do?
Right.
Build your own at Applebee's. Or just don't ever eat at Applebee's. Either way, it's fine. I'm taking a look at Jason's deck list here. 3 Relic for Genesis along with a Graph Trigger's Cage. I don't think we're going to be seeing either one of those. 3 Angel of Despair. That's not going to come in here. That's for show and tell, ladies and gentlemen. 3 Pyrokinesis, not so much. 2 Red Elemental Blast, completely reasonable. They're not great here, but they're okay. A Pyroblast, again, just okay. And then 2 Crozen Grips, which are actually pretty good here because of Sensei's Divining Top. Not so much about Counterbalance because Counterbalance is not very good against Goblins.
Plus you might want to hedge against Moat or any other destructive enchantments that Joe may have.
Yep. You know, we know that Joe doesn't have Moat. We do know that he has Detention Sphere. Jason didn't see either card, but he could board in Crozen Grip. And realistically, I think that Crozen Grip is perfectly fine to sideboard in against this deck.
Yeah, I mean, in the dark, certainly. And in the ad, I mean, it is possible for Counterbalance to be good against you, even if, you know, in the absence of Cavern or Aether Vial, it can still have its moments. And I'm sure he has some situational, like, anti-creature goblins he can easily cut out of this deck. So I would expect those cards to come in as well. But yeah, I think Joe's going to be bringing in his Proffery Nodes, his Sphere of Law. I wouldn't be surprised to see him bring in Enlightened Tutor plus Seal Cleansing to give another answer to Aether Vial early on in the game. And then some Baneslayers. Seal the deal.
Your favorite card?
It's not, I mean, I like, it has its charms. I don't particularly like it in play against me.
It has its charm.
I'm glad Joe went upstairs. I mean, in the game state we were at when he beat me with it, Sarah Angel would have killed me. So he didn't really need a Baneslayer me, but I'm glad that he, you know, decided to get a little fancy, you know.
Oh, only you, my friend, only you. It has its charms.
Yeah. 2 of them, in fact.
Hey, good card. Also, I think one of my favorite things about here, Joe's deck list, is just he wrote down just on the deck list 2 Baneslayer.
Like anyone's gonna get confused.
Yeah. Baneslayer Angel, name of the card, but just 2 Baneslayer in all caps.
I mean, do you think you bring in Baneslayer here? I mean, like you said, the matchup isn't really like about life gain or that sort of thing. It's more about your board presence and card advantage and the grind.
It's okay. It's not bad or anything. I think the way that Joe's going to win his games is with Entreat the Angels and Jace. Like, Baneslayer's all right. It's quite a big investment for a deck that can really mess with your mana with Wasteland and Rishadenport. That it's going to be like kind of tough to just be able to have the chance to windmill slam that. And even if it does get into play, it's a card that Goblins can actually deal with because of Sting Scourger. Not saying that he's going to leave that in, and also because of Gem Palm Incinerator, which he likely will leave in just because it does cycle.
So Joe has 11 counters in his deck, 3 Force of Wills, 4 Counterbalance, we can roll that in, 3 Spell Pierce, and a Counter Spell. Do you think the non-Force of Will counters get cut from his deck?
Yeah. I wouldn't want any counter magic here.
I mean, I think Force of Will can still do some work against Aether Vial, but yeah, the other counters certainly do not seem worth keeping in.
Yeah. This is a deck that it just does extremely well against counter magic. That's just really all there is to it.
Yeah. I still think the threat of Aether Vial is such that you want to keep in some number of Force of Wills. I also don't think Joe has enough like reasonable cards to bring in. Like Seal, I would say Seal Cleansing, but not Disenchant because we have an Enlightened Tutor, brings us to 2. Sphere of Law 3, Detention Sphere 4, Proffery Nodes 5, Baneslayer is 6, 7. That's a straight. And then we can bring in another Force of Will and that's 8 slots that we free up that way for 4 Counterbalance, 3 Pierce, 1 Counterspell.
I'm okay with that as long as it makes it so that his deck composition still has. Actually, he's going to be boarding out Counterbalance, so never mind. Forget it. I was going to say I want to make sure his composition will still be able to reveal the Counterbalance, but he should just be boarding those out, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's basically turning into a board control deck.
Yes. Because the counters are stanky.
And we called it a stink machine.
Yeah, stink
earlier.
machine.
It's a machine of stink.
So what were you referring to? I overheard the booth when you were like talking about some deck, the best of both worlds.
Oh, Brian Hawley's band deck that we covered last round. He's basically a mashup between a Stoneforge deck and a Maverick deck. And basically, what Joe Bono and I thought is his deck is a Jace deck that's not the best Jace deck. You know, that's either a Miracles deck or a Blue-White Stoneforge deck. And it's a Knight of the Reliquary deck, but it's not the best Knight of Reliquary deck either, which belongs to Maverick. Because Maverick has, you know, Maze of Ith and all the other Horizon Canopy, all these other lands that make Knight of the Reliquary so good. So it's a deck that uses concepts from both decks, but it doesn't do any of the great things as well as the actual decks do. That's all.
I think Joe is somewhat aggravated by the amount of time that Jason is taking his sideboard here.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I think we're past the 3 minute
Yeah,
mark.
it does only take 3 minutes, so.
And Joe obviously has reason to have this on his mind because it's going to be not easy for him to win 2 games in 30 minutes.
Yeah, this is he already has a draw today. And while he is a Miracles player, he doesn't play Miracles, slow because he's been playing it for so long.
No, he is an efficient Miracles player.
So
And that's a huge part of playing this deck in tournaments too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You can see the aggravation on his face, and it's definitely warranted.
Yeah. So Joe getting ready, just again back against the wall, down a game, and needing to piece together 2 wins in 30 minutes here.
Well, there are cards capable in Joe's deck of doing that, and Treating Angels is a game stealer and a game closer very quick.
Yeah, he killed me pretty fast with Entreat.
Okay, and Jason was given a slow play warning. Okay, so the table judges there are on it.
All right, Joe's keeping 7. I guess we're in the process of resolving the slow play warning.
Joe's like, let's go, man. Let's
Yeah.
go. The clock is ticking. And I've been in this situation before. When you play as much tournament Magic as Joe and I have, and I know you have as well, like in matchups where it's time, like I'm ready to play.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience in that sort of thing, to
I
be
guess
quite frank.
Yeah, I've played varying ranges of decks, and when time is a thing that's definitely important. It's a big deal to me. I'm on it the entire time.
So I believe the head judge is now being called over.
Certainly, something. Okay, so there's a technical coverage problem, not a judge problem. Okay. Just as far as there are a lot of situations as we wait for this match to begin where people are uncomfortable, calling over a judge for slow play or something like that, And I know that in a PTQ I was playing here locally, Zanebag, this was during the Callblade Deceiver Exarch Splinter Twin deck. Mm-hmm. Just the most miserable standard deck of all time because it was just way too good.
Yes.
Zame sat down every round because he was super well tested for this tournament. He said, "Hi, my name is Zame, and I just want to tell you beforehand that I'd like to play at a very reasonable pace because the mirrors for this format take an incredibly long time. They're very difficult, and do not take offense if I call a judge for slow play on you." And she said that to every single opponent, played at a very reasonable pace, won the tournament.
Okay.
And he just avoided, any slow play or offending anyone or anything like that. So I thought that was really cool that he was doing that the entire tournament and then had success doing such a thing.
Sure. I'd be annoyed if my first words out of my opponent's mouth were, "I'm not going to hesitate to call a judge on you."
He was very polite about it. He was very polite about it.
I guess as polite as you can be in that circumstance, right?
As we see 1-mana artifacts here from both players to begin the game.
Joe looking at fetch. Is that fetch, entreat, volcanic?
And he did spend top on his upkeep to make sure that he found what he was looking for. He does find a basic plains. We see Aether Vial tick up to 1 for Jason.
Aether Vial plus Cavern again, so whatever counter spells Joe has left in have definitely gotten now are worth effective 0.
No mas. As we're going to see a Mog War Marshal here from Jason.
So now we're definitely just trying to get Entreat online. I assume is just our plan this game.
It's the best way to close out a game against goblins. It's very, very difficult for a goblins deck to be able to deal with that card.
Yep.
2 angels even is very difficult. So we see a Volcanic Island from Joe opening himself up a little bit to Wasteland here. Log War Marshal gonna bite the dust because Cavern can't pay the upkeep, and Vial moving up to 2. We do see a third land here from Jason. It's actually the third Cavern of Souls.
So still can't cycle Gem Palms. Can't pay his upkeep on his War Marshal. Yeah, just, yes, sir.
And we'll see what line of play he chooses. Looks like he's going to start off with a Goblin War Chief. Okay.
Sure.
And we might see an Aether Vial activation here, too.
I think Joe has Vendilion Click in his hand, so it wouldn't surprise me if Joe responds to the activation here.
It looks like all of this is going to happen. And Joe said, I'm going to draw a card.
I suppose we'll, yeah, it seems good.
I'm going to kill all your things. Yeah, it's important that Jason is careful with that Aether Vial because, as you said, the Vendilion Click activation, Vendilion Click, excuse me, the trigger from that can respond to an Aether Vial trigger. So you see Supreme Verdict in Joe's hand as well, so he does have a second Wrath. He also has the Source of Plowshares and the top that he drew last turn.
Yeah, and he's loath to break that fetch line until he's actually ready to entreat.
Yeah. Sweet Joe tapping the non-basic here for the Sensei's Divining Top to, again, play around Wasteland as best he can.
The red mana in his deck is only for sideboarded Red Blast, so.
We're going to see Aether Vial tick up to 3. We do see Jason's hand.
All right, so.
We're going to have a draw step effect here with Vendilion Click.
Since he's already exposed to Wasteland here, Joe's willing to get the Tundra.
Start to overpower it a little bit.
Yeah. And he presumably has use for double blue and double white, so.
Okay. Then.
Okay.
Well.
Poor Joe. 3 copies of Goblin Matron and a Goblin Ringleader.
That's a very, very good hand.
Yeah, it's actually one of these weird spots where it's like barely even worth. All these cards are disasters to the point where it's actually barely worth clicking any of them away.
Yeah, you know, if he clicks away Goblin Ringleader, for example, and Jason draws into a land, then he just he just files in Matron, searches for the Ringleader, and casts it through Cavern. So this is a rough situation here.
This is. Like, I actually think there's some, yeah. Like, if you can stop everything, you might as well jam them on mana a little bit, right?
What do you mean? Explain.
Like, there's no way that taking any one of these 4 cards makes any appreciable inroads in Jason's ability to, like, get a bunch of card advantage or a massive board. But at least his action's a little slow right now. There's some amount of risk of giving an extra draw that somehow improves his velocity.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, basically, your basic argument is just don't take anything there.
I just don't
I don't know where it gets you by taking something.
Yeah, it's weird, right? His hand's actually so good that it's not worth taking anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. You're just supposed to take the Ringleader and whatever. But
no, I think it's pretty tough. I think as we see, Jason drew, I think, one of the only bad cards in the situation, which is an Aether Vial. And we're going to see Jason Vial in Goblin Matron. Not sure what he's going to search for here.
Yeah, what?
Because if he draws a land, it's a complete disaster.
Yeah, because he just gets to go Matron Ringleader that turn.
Yeah, and then it's just a complete and utter disaster.
Yeah. At least, if you leave his hand the way it is, you can bleed out some amount. Like, the Supreme Verdict in your hand goes up in value a lot.
Sure.
Because it's going to take Jason a long time to actually amass a board that is able to threaten real damage, and then you can Supreme Verdict everything away.
Yeah. So we're going to see Goblin Pile Driver here.
Joe's expression was a nice one, though.
It was. Head and hands. Just frustration. Anything going to go my way today?
Ooh, we got a portent.
Ooh, finally.
Yep.
We thought we'd see it last time he was on camera against Corbett Gray. Well, we do have a portent here from Joe. Card not often seen.
Yep.
May get cast here. Strange that it's found. It's quite good. Quite good in Miracles, and I don't think good anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean, the big upside to it is having another cantrip that you draw at your opponent's upkeep.
Correct.
So you can actually trigger miracle stuff off of it.
Yeah.
The slow trips, as they were called back in the day.
And we see Joe here setting up. He does have a brainstorm now, so you're probably going to see that Entreat the Angels go back.
Yep.
He just has to make sure, basically, he doesn't get beat up too bad here by Goblin Piledriver.
Yeah, I feel like his plan for this game needs to be, knowing what he knows now about Jason's hand, is to bleed out enough of Jason's action where Supreme Verdict sets him back quite a bit in terms of his ability to like fire back with a lethal board, and in the meantime get a big entreat and close the game out quickly.
Yeah, within that window.
Yeah,
Sure.
he'll have like a small gap of time where he can presumably go Supreme Verdict you, weather the storm, hopefully keep the Source of Plowshares that's in his hand to like deal with the leftovers, big entreat, and win the game quickly. That seems, I don't know if he can do it. Jason's hand's obviously very good, but it's at least a path.
So this turn, you see Jason leave the Aether Vial at 3. I'm not in love with that play because he does have 2 Goblin Matrons in his hand. I personally would want to be ringleading this turn, so I could cast my Matron and then Violin Ringleader.
Yep.
I mean, he may have another line in his mind set up that I'm not seeing.
Yep. The risk here is that if Jason just kind of fills around too long, playing around the Wrath effects, a big entreat just can blow him up. You might not have enough time to close the game out.
Sure. So we see Piledriver get through for 3 here on Joe. Could not be blocked because of the Pro Blue clause. As we saw, Gem Palm Incinerator was actually the card that was drawn there for Jason's turn. See Jason Violin, another Goblin Matron.
I have to assume we're getting a ringleader here. Yeah.
Yeah, and if that was the plan overall, I would have liked to see the Violet go up to 4.
Right. You still do everything this turn.
Yep.
This is a spot where it looks to me like Piledriver is actually halfway decent because it allows Jason to play sort of this card advantage attrition game and still put a reasonable amount of pressure on Joe.
Yeah, I mean, it does a relatively good job of creating some pressure. The problem I found basically is that it's very easy for Joe to just break it up if he wants to. There's a Source of Plowshares in Joe's hand that he's just opting not to cast.
Well, I think Joe is hoping that the Supreme Verdict is what he can lean on and then use the plow to deal with some of the follow-up to that.
Sure, something that slips through the cracks so he doesn't have to vert away his own angels.
Yes.
Sure.
Because, yeah, basically Entreat and Supreme Verdict are the cards that are going to allow him to overpower potentially everything that Jason's done. And he can't really be, using whatever the leftovers are.
And Joe does draw his card for the turn.
Is that a Bane Slayer Angel that he drew?
I can't tell if it's a Bane Slayer Angel or if it is an Entreat the Angels. But I know he does have an Entreat looming. He may have 2 Entreats looming there.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go upstairs with the vial. So now set at 4 and 2. All right, ringleader. No.
Yes.
Siege gang.
Yes.
Tin can man.
So I call him Ting Street.
And Siege Gang is especially bad for Joe here because that's a huge bit of leftovers to have to beat after you've been treated.
Well, it's interesting. I think most of the time, Siege Gang Commander would be like just horrific here, like just hell for Joe. But 3 Cavernous Souls,
Yeah.
no activations.
Yeah, no red mana.
Here we come with these guys and the trigger on Goblin Pile Driver. We're going to see if Joe will let that resolve, or if he's going to Swords that, or if we're going to see Entreat the Angels. And here we are. Okay. And with the Miracle in the stack, Joe is going to sack his Polluted Delta. He's going to lose the Sensei's Divining Top here.
Yep. So if he can afford to take his lumps here, do you just block Matron and you block Matron Ringleader here, right? You still have your plow. You can just plow the Pile Driver the following turn. You can afford it. I think you can afford to take this hit, or rather, I think you have to afford it. You can't trade off one of your Angels. It represents too much of your some resources in this game to trade off with a Pile Driver.
It really also depends on what that card is in his hand, because let's say, for instance, that is a Baneslayer Angel, as you said, then he can take his punch in the face from Pile Driver and let it through.
So, I think Jason just allowed him to get to blockers.
So now we'll see some blocks.
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, okay, he's just going to clear off here.
It's going to leave Joe with 2 Angels and a 3-turn clock. And so this is where things get difficult for the Goblins deck, because dealing with Entreat the Angels, it deals with creatures well, but it deals with creatures, 1 Tarmogoyf, 1 Delver of Secrets with Jump Home Incinerator, stuff like that. But when 3 4/4s come into play, that's what makes it tough for Goblins, because Goblins creatures are relatively stinky.
We're going to Matron again. And we're still sitting on our Supreme Verdict here, so we can hit a few times and then Verdict if things get too bad.
Yeah, in case anything goes real bad.
Also, what's nice is, obviously Jason's bringing in a bunch of Red Blasts and Disenchants, and it really looks like Joe's de-emphasized those parts of his deck.
Yeah.
He's leaning very heavily on his white cards.
He really is. I'm just trying to think of, you see that the 2 Red Elemental Blasts and the Power Blast have been brought in. You're just trying to think of, with how we think Joe's sideboard, all the counterspells going out, what blue cards does he really even have left in his deck? Brainstorm?
Yeah, Detention Sphere maybe?
Jace?
Yeah.
Which, that's obviously a good card to hit with Red Elemental Blast, but there aren't really a lot of good targets after sideboard. As we see, Jason's going to search for
a Prospector. I think the reason to do this is so he can actually get his Siege Gang to do something.
Yeah.
Because he's still short on red mana that he can actually use.
And so we see Joe come across for 8, and if I've identified the card in his hand correctly.
Is that a sphere?
No, I think that the other card in his hand right now is an Entreat the Angels, where you can just make. Okay,
Oh,
never mind. It's the big angel.
It's an angel party.
Patrick, say hi again. It's been a while since you
Joe, come on, man.
It's been a while since you two have seen each other. As we are going to see Jason move his Vial up to 5 for Siege Gang.
And at this point, if Jason's actually received a slow play warning, then it's obviously he wants to think about his decisions, but that's got to be just looming in the back of his head that. All right, so he's going to now in his upkeep. Looks like he wanted to get his Pile Driver into play, and then take his pile up to 3.
Yep.
Yep. The judge just gave him a caution, so.
pace of play a big deal here. As we are going to see, he finally does draw an Arid Mesa to search for a mountain, knocking himself down to 11.
Well, that Baneslayer is a huge beating in his ability to like alpha strike here.
Yeah, it'll basically prevent Jason from making any real attacks.
Yeah. I mean, he can generate enough red mana to shoot down the Baneslayer, right? So he needs basically 3. Yeah, I mean, he can shoot it down.
Yeah, no, you see the mountain. The mountain was a key draw, yeah.
Whoa, we're just cycling Jump Bomb.
Yep.
That's much more efficient.
Now it looks like we're going to see a Skirk Prospector here as well.
I have a feeling this is going to induce the...
And so you see Jason moving his goblins around, considering how if it's time to sacrifice anything. So we are going to see an attack for 1 here with the Matron, putting Joe down to 13.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus 1 mana up. So we can't kill Joe. So I assume this is just going to induce the Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the case. Joe does draw a Sensei's Divining Top for the turn. Probably going to get in here with the 2 Angels, play a Supreme Verdict, maybe play a top and just say go.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
All right, so he does come
Jason
across.
Falls to 3.
And Joe checking, am I dead? Am I not dead? Sensei's Divine Top. Okay, so we do see a Brainstorm in Joe's hand as well. So he can brainstorm that Terminus.
I still feel like he's better using Supreme Verdict. If he has to Wrath, I'd rather keep an instant speed Wrath in my hand and get the sorcery speed out of my hand while it's still good value.
Yeah, me too. And that's exactly what he's done here. Terminus on the stack. We're going to see a bit of goblins being thrown here due to Skirk Prospector plus Siege Gang Commander. And Joe's just going, okay, yeah, just go ahead and do it.
Yep.
If you're going to do it, just do it fast.
So we have 2 mana. He still has not.
You just sack a goblin for that. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. And
2
sack
mana,
another goblin.
sack a goblin.
It doesn't matter which one. All right.
Yep. All right, so we're going to shoot Joe down to 9 here. And now our boards are cleared. Jason is left with a Krenko and a Tin Street Hooligan.
Correct.
Watching Joe navigate this has been very impressive.
I agree. He's really gotten himself out of some sticky situations here.
Yep. I mean, he's threatening just, all he needs is really 1 more entreat.
So we see Goblin War Chief drawn for the turn by Jason. Krenko going to get Viled in. War Chief going to get sent in. War Chief, best draw possible here this turn. Krenko was not going to have haste before, so Joe would be able to swords it if he needed to.
Yep.
And now you're going to see this. So this is 3, 4, 5. That's 7 damage.
How is he casting Tin Street Hooligan?
Because of Goblin War Chief.
Oh, sure. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes. So he gets to make 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 3.
So he's going to make 3 goblins, and he's going to get to attack for 7. So that's going to put Joe down to 2.
But he's empty-handed now, and Joe has Brainstorm Terminus. I mean,
correct. So Joe is still okay.
Yep.
But again, whatever Joe's going to do, he's going to have to do it in a hurry.
Yep.
Not only does he need to clear up these goblins, but he needs to find a win condition. He needs to find one quick. So we are going to see a Brainstorm here to start the turn. Joe draws a Vendilion Click.
Ooh. That click is perfect.
Legacy Open.
He can
time in round 8. Once again,
he can both Terminus and click this turn.
Yep.
So inside the draw, he can Terminus and then click him. And, I mean, Jason's drawing pretty slim at that point, right?
Yeah, on the upkeep, he can draw the card with the top. Let's see if he opts to do it this way.
I mean, you have to do it in draw, right? You don't want to get...
No, no. On your what Joe would do there is on his on Jason's upkeep, draw the card with top, terminus him, and then in Jason's draw step, when dealing click.
Right,
him.
that's what I mean. I'm surprised Joe let him get to his main phase.
Yeah, me too. He's going to rearrange with top just to make sure. Okay. All right, so there's a terminus. Yeah, because see now, it's I think it was super important for that to be the draw step. To do an upkeep and draw step. But yeah, now we're still inside combat for dealing click. You.
Okay.
For dealing click, see Goblin Pile Driver.
Okay.
Keep it. Keep it. Cast it. Die. Yep. Draw attack. Dead.
Okay. Joe takes game 2. Not entirely sure exactly how much time is on the clock as we just got
The clock that we do have is the clock was just adjusted. It is correct.
Okay.
So we are going to be going to a third game here. Both players 10 minutes left. They both do have a draw. A second draw will knock both of them out. So pace of play very key for this match.
It's funny because there's plenty of times where Jason's operations were like plenty fast about going about his stuff, but you know, I don't think there's any ill intent here. I think he might just, there's some places where he just might be a little apprehensive about being on camera.
Yeah, or perhaps unexperienced as well with the deck. Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly reasonable, yeah. We're definitely not as much experience as Joe, but I mean, you can say that for about 90% of Legacy players as well.
Right.
Joe plays a ton of Legacy.
Joe's deck looks a lot better for the matchup on the draw. I mean, Jason again led with Cavern, Aether Vial, had infinite gas. I mean, that click was 3 matrons and a ringleader.
Yeah.
And Joe was just sort of able to slog through it. Even if Joe doesn't take that match, that game one was very impressive.
It was a very well played game by Joe,
Yeah.
without question.
And looking through his sideboard, it looks like he is bringing 2 copies of Force of Will back into his deck, it looks like.
Porting him in on the draw.
Yeah, it's just more Vial insurance.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. And this is something where the counterbalance deck from a couple of years ago would definitely be doomed in this situation.
Yeah,
absolutely no chance they're winning the game in 9 minutes.
Yeah, that deck did a nice job of controlling the game. It just had a very hard time of closing out the game. It was reliant on Tarmogoyf to do that, which is a card that a lot of decks could answer, but it couldn't really answer the third one or the fourth one. Whereas with Miracles now and this take on counterbalance, Entreat the Angels closes the game so fast.
Yes. I think Jason's hand has 0 or 1 lands in it.
He has a cavern.
He has a cavern.
He just has a very good start.
Oh, just
Joe
that.
Joe has a Force of Will in his hand. What did Joe draw there?
Does he have a plow?
He's gonna need one. This is a deck that can survive a Lackey hit just because of Terminus, Supreme Verdict, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Depending on what card they put in. It's definitely not a plow. What you are going to see is Sensei's Divining Top, and he's going to pass back and shuffle. Here comes one on the chin.
One of the most feared starts in Legacy, uncontested.
We're going to see Goblin Matron be put into play.
Assuming given what his development is like, we're going to get a pile driver here and cast it.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. Gonna try to get him dead. Get a Siege Gang Commander. Didn't see that one coming. And pass the turn back. Top on upkeep. I don't love that. Swords.
An Enlightened Tutor.
Sphere of Law. likely the card that you can search for.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
that.
does he have enough time to get Sphere of Law online?
Well, I mean, 6 minutes, 6:52 on the clock.
No, I just mean in the game. Is he going to die so fast?
No, not at all.
Okay.
He has swords to take care of the lackey, though. That's why I'm surprised he didn't search for pile driver to put it into play, because now his sword just breaks it up.
Yep. And he's out of lands.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out of, his hand's just all expensive spells. There's another 4-mana. I mean,
He may have drawn a Rashad port. Yeah,
that is a port. Okay. I assume we're just going to go to Plains here and plowing.
Yep. I'll take scare the lackey. Matron comes in across for 1.
But I think he has another matron he can play, but
He does have another matron. He also has a Gem Palm Incinerator as well, but it's likely going to be matron this turn.
and Jason's deck is definitely able to keep up in sort of the grindy aspects of the game without Vile, but it's definitely a lot less explosive.
Yep.
I mean, Joe's getting time to get his feet set a little bit.
It's a much different game with when they have Vile and when they don't.
Or he's getting a new lackey. Seems ambitious to believe that card's connecting again.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be 2 turns from now if it does. Okay, yeah, you can't cut your deck again.
Jace, Flooded Strand, and is that Terminus or Entreat?
It's one of those miracle cards. We're going to see Flooded Strand drawn for Joe's turn. Come into play.
Is it Portent time?
There is a portent there. Looks like it may be portent's time.
We might want to get that one up on the screen.
Yeah, it and all of its ugly art. There she is. So again, what's interesting about this card is that it is a cantrip, but it is a slow cantrip. So that he draws a card at the beginning of Jason's upkeep, and drawing the first card in his turn leads to miracles being cast.
Yep.
So it's very similar to a Ponder, but not the exact same. And so now Joe will draw his card off of that.
Yep. I believe we just drew another lackey.
So we're going in for 2. We'll have a life update for you guys in just a moment, but we are going to have some lackeys, at least one, potentially a second one. Nope, he's going to leave up
We're
Rashad
gonna
and
port.
Port.
Yep.
And Joe says, all right, how about Terminus? Yeah, that's the card you draw for the turn.
Yeah, we're good. I don't think there was another card that fell.
Right,
No.
you think you're in contention for top 8, and you have not yet brought your deck up.
Shuffle his deck?
Please do that right now.
I'm very confused by this. They're having to shuffle some of his deck, but not all of it.
Okay. Oh, that was after he drew.
Sure.
I thought that was the card he drew for his turn. I was like, all right, just pick it up and put it in your hand.
Yeah. So we see Arid Mason search out a mountain. I think we're going to see a Goblin Ringleader now. Yep.
So Joe is going to get the opportunity to shuffle Jason's deck and now reveal for Goblin Ringleader.
Gem Palm.
So Gem Palm and Pile Driver going over.
Yep. And this is again, Jason's doing he's obviously up a million on cards, but without Vial, he's not deploying these things efficiently, so he can just get I mean, Entreat would just bury him.
Yeah, without question. His board presence just isn't very good.
Yeah. So yeah, Joe just really needs to find an Entreat fast, but
you see swords, you see island, you see swords. Right now, Joe is just looking for a brainstorm. He would have put the Entreat in his hand back. See island. Joe gonna sacrifice this.
Yep.
He does have
the plows are not very good right now.
Yeah, the plows aren't great, but the Baneslayer in his hand sure is.
Yeah.
Joe passes it right back.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a mountain here. Gem Palm Incinerator not going to get the job done right now. The Siege Gang that Jason did search for earlier, probably going to see that come into play.
Yep.
Instead, we're going to see a Goblin Ringleader.
Yeah, I think that we need to get that Siege Gang into play.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And that's an 0 for 4 on a Ringleader. When you have the opportunity to get Siege Gang into play for your turn, that's definitely what you do.
Yeah, because he needs to untap and be able to kill that Baneslayer.
Yeah, and Gem Palm Incinerator will allow him to do that. Right now, he has a bunch of goblins on the board, but none of those goblins really matter.
Oh my god,
much.
It's another Baneslayer. I don't think he has a 6th land, though. Just double up. Although he did find a Brainstorm, so now he's gonna Entreat.
Joe draws his card. Joe draws some Dillion Click. A good draw there. Baneslayer, yeah, you're free to serve.
15 up.
And we're going to see Jace the Mind Sculptor bounce the Lackey. It's going to go down to 2 counters. Lackey's not going to get the chance to hit him.
Yep.
Jason's going to pass back. And Joe is racing.
Yeah, Joe's happy to play a tempo game here.
The turn starts with Goblin Lackey.
All right, this is turn 1.
This is turn 0.
Jason is turn 1.
This is actually turn 1?
Yep.
Okay, this is turn 1. Gem Palm Incinerator cycled.
I guess we're Gem Palming twice.
Okay. Gem Palming twice, okay. You see a Wasteland as well with no targets. You might see Jace bite the dust here as well.
I would assume that one's going to Jason, one's... Oh, we're letting him keep his Jace? I guess they both... Oh, no, okay. I was going to say, I guess both players need to win, but...
Joe's going to draw his card. He says, Baneslayer number 2, your turn.
Yeah, so Joe can't... neither player can win in time, presumably. I guess Jason still has an outside chance.
Yeah, Jason does get 2 turns. This is turn number 3.
Jason taking his time now. Trying to figure out if there's any way for him to... I mean, if he's still got Sting Scourger in his deck, that wouldn't be terrible here.
No, it wouldn't be bad at all. Let's see Goblin Matron search through.
Seems rough to keep in his Sting Scourger against the game 1, no creature control deck or whatever.
Yeah, this isn't really where you want to be with Sting Scourger at all. We're going to see War Chief here.
And go.
We'll go to turn 4. Joe going to spin top on upkeep. See a Brainstorm, you see a Volcanic Island, you see a white card, likely one of his miracles.
I think that's a Bane. Does he have the second Baneslayer as an option?
Second Baneslayer's in play.
Yeah, okay, yeah. He did have that. So I think that's Terminus?
Volcanic Island.
If that's Entreat on top, that's a I mean, in any case, it seems like Joe, with a couple more turns, probably pulls that out.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's Entreat or Terminus here.
Jason draws another Rashad in port. And he can push through 2 goblins that are uncountable right now.
Life total should be 1810 in Lossett's favor, I believe.
So Jason doing the math here on his final turn of the game.
There's a ringleader.
You see a War Chief, a Krenko, a Scalding Tarn, and a Wasteland.
See, Jason's still doing some math here. I'm pretty sure either White Miracle card blunts a lethal assault here. Because he can put something in, he can either Terminus or put something in front of the pile driver, and everything else is an attack he can digest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, minus 3 blockers. If I'm looking at this correctly, I believe if it's Entreat, Joe goes to exactly 1.
How about if it's Terminus?
Then then we just spin our wheels here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Joe's,
Yeah. Joe's basically saying, I would almost certainly win this game.
Yep.
So we'll see exactly how the matchup's going to be filled out. Right now, it's going to be a draw that knocks both players out of the tournament unless one is willing to concede to the other. Joe making his case for, with 2
Joe
or 3
was
more
in
turns.
a commanding but not inevitable position.
Yes. And Jason had just gotten his board decimated, and I think most of his hand went into play. But again, it's a favorable position for Joe, but not a lock that he's going to win.
Not sure what the conversation here is exactly.
We'll be coming to a result shortly, either way. with the judges there, I'm sure they're going to do everything. I'm sure they're going to do everything legally as far as what they can say and what they can't say. But
Yeah.
we'll have the judges will step in and force a result very shortly here, as that is their job to do.
And looks like that's a draw.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be a draw, which will eliminate both players. Neither player will make the top 8 and get the match result filled out. So